The Rap Roundtable.
Now, y'all know we had to spin. Like, there was no way that this guy, Jay-Z, was going to do an interview, a random pop-up interview. Of course, today his tickets go live, no less. GQ talks about everything. When I checked the stats last night, even around, like, I want to say maybe 10:45, 11 p.m., up to 700,000 views for the GQ interview. No New Delhi. The likes and the comments match. It's a hot button issue.
Yep.
Everyone's talking about it. Even fan bases of artists who weren't mentioned are talking about it. So you know the Rap Round Table has to talk about it. It's your boy Jav here alongside Sincere the Rap Snob, alongside Macito. Deanie the Balance is on the clock. Shout out to everyone who will be in the chat who could tap in with us, because you know we usually don't do the Wednesday lives unless something pops off in the culture that we have to cover. So shout out to everybody who could pull up. Lock in. I know there's other platforms that's live right now doing big numbers as we speak. But make sure y'all pull up and show the Rap Roundtable some love too. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe option, hit the notification bell. Lock in to all things Rap Roundtable. I got my guys to say the Rap Snob here, Macito, fellas. No pleasantries. You know, let's just get right into it. Jay-Z had a lot to say. Considering our history of covering the battle, I feel like we should start with his opinions on this battle. So he talked about not so much the competitive fervor between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, but he spent a lot of time talking about the periphery, the fan reaction, stan culture, so on and so forth. He even made a very hot comment as far as he's not sure, or he doesn't think battling should be part of hip hop culture anymore. And that had a lot of people talking. And you know, we got to go to Sincere the Rap Snob to get into this topic first. So we'll start there with the battling. How do you feel about
it? Let's start there. How do I feel about it? So a couple of days ago, you know, I was in full Jay-Z mode. I threw up the rock in, you know, excitement. I'm taking that shit back. Give me that rock back, because I'm throwing tomatoes at Jigga Man right now, man. That's the Jigger Man at the moment, man. I'm not trying to hear none of this. We got to stop battling. We've moved past this. Like, apparently we moved past kneeling. Now we moved past battling. Like, I'm not trying to hear all that, man. This is a very, like, later in life, you know, sitting on top of a billion plus type of tape. You know what I mean? That's not really in touch with the culture. There's several things that bothers me about this. One, of course, as a purist, battling is always going to be ingrained in the culture, no matter what, right? Like it or hate it, it's going to be part of the culture. We're not moving, quote unquote, past it, right? He didn't seem to, I mean, you know, he's at a different stage in life, you know what I mean? But what really bothers me is that, like, he was around for Big and Pac, bro. He came up in the Big and Pac era. We don't have Big and Pac no more. We haven't had Big and Pac for a very long time, man. And we can speculate on, like, what really was the cause of both of them, you know, passing away in an untimely fashion. But there had to have been something or other regarding East Coast, West Coast, regarding the tumultuous nature of the relationship. It had to have been, like, you know, in there somewhere. And so all this time later, I understand, again, he's older, he's in a different place in life, but, like, for this to be the line, for the Kendrick and Drake battle to be the line that gets crossed, where you feel like, I don't think there's a place for it in the culture anymore. I don't know. I'm calling cap. I'm calling bullshit on that. You know what I mean? Fuck out of here with that. The other thing about it that I don't like is that, like, he cites the social media reaction to the battle. And Jav, I know that you put, you know, a snippet out there just to be in the algorithm. You know, we gotta, you know, stay in the wave of things. But I gotta disagree with you a little bit. On the one hand, yes, is hip hop discourse is the discourse post battle is stan culture. Has it kind of, like, taken the excitement out of it, or has it kind of, like, you know, put a wet blanket on things? Sure, you know, but let's be honest. we are in the business of talking rap. But whatever you talk, whatever your passion is, whatever you have a platform or a podcast about, whatever you're passionate about, the discourse of that thing has also gone to shit. The discourse on everything has gone to shit on the internet. Sports discourse is trash. Movie discourse is trash. Pop culture discourse is trash. Political discourse is trash. It's all trash. Every part of it. You know what I mean? So for Jay to just point at social media discourse and stand culture as citing that as why we should not have battles anymore in hip hop, I consider that trash. I'll call that take trash. That's a trash take. You know what I mean? Because it's like it always bothers me when it's like you single out our culture, you single out, our way of life, you single out, what we do, and we have to change our rules because of what's going on, out there on the internet, on the, in the algorithms. But it's also going on everywhere else. We're not going to stop having debates on sports. We're not going to stop, we're not going to stop sports finals and championships. You know what I mean? Because certain fan bases can't get along online. We're not going to stop having politics because, Republicans and Democrats are worse than ever on Twitter. Like, that's just not going to happen. That's not a reason to stop doing shit. You know what I mean? And that shit really pisses me off because it's always us. We always got to change for what's going on everywhere else. Everyone's doing it, but when we do it, there's something wrong with it. You know what I mean? And I call bullshit on that.
Fair play. Fair play. I'll respond to that when it's my turn to go. Mesito, your thoughts, man?
What a fascinating interview. What an interesting perspective from Jay. I think we all been waiting to hear what Jay has to say about this. Now, I won't be as harsh on him as Sin. I won't call it a trash take. I do think it's unrealistic though, right? But I feel like, maybe it's the Brooklyn. I don't know. I feel like I understand the guy a little bit more though. Sin, you from Harlem. You coming from the Dame point of view. So you a little staticky, Sin. You know what I'm saying? You don't have
don't put Dame on me, bro.
You don't have a grimy Rockefeller chain. I won't never say that, but
not 2026 Dame. Don't do that.
But listen. It's unrealistic because, listen, man, like, too much money was made here. Too much notoriety happened here. It was, like we said, it was the most exciting time in probably this entire 2020s decade in hip-hop, bro. Like, please go watch back our videos. See the good times we was having. See how any random point in the day, we was doing pods from the crib, from work, jog from the car, from the street. Like, we was like, this was exciting. So it's like, it's unrealistic to think nobody's gonna want to follow this up. We already had, a much more minute version of it, but Joey Badass tried to recreate this energy. Joey Badass in the West Coast, right? So now it's unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? And Jay kind of mentions about, wanting the world to be one way and it not being that way, like it's Batman type vibes. You know what I mean? So I get that to a degree. And also, Sin, I want to say because he does mention here how he does still want people to go at it on records. He still does probably want the sublims and maybe the shots and maybe certain things. Like, I think he understands there's a certain competitiveness that's always going to come with this. But we have to, come on, we all can see it. We all can see that in 2026, it seems like whether it's discourse, whether it's, the political portion of it, it does seem like hip hop is in a worse place. Like, I feel a little bit vindication, right? Because this was my unpopular opinion, right? That this battle kind of ruined hip hop. You know what I mean? And that might have been a harsh way to say it, but we got to get you to listen when we talking unpopular opinions, guys. So I felt a little bit of vindication because I feel everybody who can see it, whether it's the lawsuit, whether it's the people doxing people, whether it's the this side or that side portion of hip hop, but not even in a really competitive way, more in like a stand Barty gang type of way. Like it's just the feeling around hip hop is weird right now. And I'm not, listen, I think of Jay like how I think of you, Sin, as a rap snob. So for him to come out and say something like this, it makes me feel like, well, there is something going on here. Like, and obviously, right? Jay was caught up in it too, right? Because Jay is the one that damn near knighted Kendrick after this battle. I feel like to us, the culture, Jay-Z picking Kenny for this Super Bowl meant more to us than any Grammy wins, any, most of this stuff. Maybe not the pop out, but culturally, Jay-Z vindicated Kendrick right after this battle. So it's like, obviously he was caught up in it. He was a fan of it. But to act like, come on, bro. Like we see what's going on here. We see how people, and when I say
going
people,
on? Nah,
it's often,
you keep saying we see what's going on. What exactly is going on?
We see how nasty it is, and how nasty, just like you say, how nasty the discourse is. How people are more worried about numbers than anything in hip hop. Like people tag us.
Was that
see it online?
That wasn't the case before the battle?
Not to this degree, Sin. Not to this degree. You're a Kendrick fan.
All right.
Were people were Kendrick fans giving a damn about numbers like that to the degree they are now before this battle? You the Kenny fan. That was something that we did. That was something 50 Cent fans did. This is like to act like we're not seeing. People can't even enjoy albums anymore. It's numbers. It's DSPs. It's bots. It's a lot of conversations about a lot of things that aren't hip hop. And I feel like Jay is disgusted by it.
Who's the one that brought? Let's keep it a buck. Where did those talking points come from?
Where did the talking points from? What are you trying to insinuate? That this
what
is
do you
Drake's
think
fault?
What do you think I'm trying to insinuate?
This is Drake's fault.
You catching on?
Fault. And Sin, this is exactly the type of shit he's disgusted with. We can't even have a regular conversation without it getting into fandom. We just having a conversation.
It's not. This isn't fandom.
It's not Drake. It's not fuck Kendrick. It's seeing the overall scope of the game.
There's always fandom with you, even when you try to be objective.
No, listen.
The side of the fence that you on is part of your fandom.
It's not fandom, and I'm gonna explain right now why it's not fandom. Because, and this is what Mace's saying is
because Jay-Z didn't say who. He didn't say who started it. He just saying
exactly. Exactly. And that I think is the problem. That's the problem with political discourse, and that's the problem with this discourse too, is that nobody wants to say like who was, the underhanded snake scumbag that started the shit that led to where we're at now. You know what I mean? Now everybody's a scumbag. Now everybody's a stand. Now everybody. But when did that ball start rolling is my question.
I don't think that
because hold on. Let me land my point.
Cook.
The thing that one of the major things that bothers me.
I feel like you're losing the plot here, arguing about this shit. I ain't gonna hold you. Like
no, you're not. I'm gonna let you. I'm talking specifically about what Jay's stance on this. What it feels to me is a very centrist, very middle of the road, very does not want, playing both sides. We got to hear both sides out and don't want to offend nobody, right? In a certain way, similar to like J. Cole, but less kind of bitch ass, right? But more diplomatic, right? But my thing is, when this battle started and Kendrick said, I want to keep this a friendly fade, Drake is the one that crossed the line because he's a habitual line stepper. And the way it devolved was, if you're going to go low, then Kendrick said, I'm going to go low. He didn't do the Obama thing where he said, when you go low, we go high. If you go low, I'm going to go lower. That's what ended up happening. But the person that crossed the line, we know who that was because he's a habitual line stepper. And that's the thing that bothers me, is that we don't want to point the finger at like, how did we get here? Who's the one
But I don't
that
understand.
laid the groundwork to this?
But I don't did you want him to go up on an interview and say, "Hey, the game sucks. It's your fault, Drake"? He's the elder statesman. He has to kind of speak.
That's why I'm like, I feel like we losing the plot here. Like, what exactly are we talking about now? Because it ain't like he went out there and he gave his opinion of the situation. Whether we agree or disagree, we'll get into that. But like you sitting asking for awfully specific things from Jay-Z when he was making a general statement in an interview about Jay-Z. It wasn't an interview about the battle. So why do you want him to be so hyper specific when it's his platform to talk about himself?
Because to be honest, knowing Jay-Z, I don't expect him to be hyper
we
specific.
Don't know Jay-Z. You can make assumptions about
no.
We don't know the guy.
All right, let me get my point. Knowing what we know of Jay-Z, is that better? Knowing what we know of Jay-Z, I understand he's not going to point fingers and be hyper specific, right? That's not going to stop it from bothering me when we saw how the whole shit transpired, and we're mad about where we've ended up. There has to be a catalyst to that. We can't just be like, look where we ended up. Let's look at how we ended it.
I think behind closed doors, you're probably more likely to get Jay-Z admitting who he thinks is the catalyst of that. And I think that with this move,
we talking too much about the wrong thing. The point of the matter is this: on that particular topic, if he decides, considering what I said at the beginning of the stream, 700,000 views at 10:45 p.m. yesterday. If he was to say, because at the end of the day, we all know the nastiness, the stand culture, sin is not wrong. We know who we gonna point the finger at with that. Before the battle started, Drake fans been Drake fans for a very long time before the battle. You know what I mean? And they got even worse after Drake got his ass kicked in glorious fashion. So much so that even Jay-Z had to bend the knee as far as how big that battle was. Because I think when the interviewer, shout out to Frazier, when he mentioned it, he said, we used to be a son to that degree as far as the Jay-Z and Nas battle and how big it was. If he says it's Drake and Drake, academics, and the like, all the people who are on that side of the fence, the ATLians that are on that side of the fence, that right there starts a culture war. You know what I mean? Because it gets very loud, and considering the scale of the interview, it kind of buries the lead. That's something we talk about all the time off the air. If we say certain things while we're on the air, no one's going to hear everything we have to say because we said one thing that completely buries the conversation. If he actually lays blame to the people who deserve the blame, then the rest of the things he said gets lost in the conversation. So I think he was trying to be, somebody put it in the chat, I think he was being politically correct in his statement. Now, does that make him literally correct? No. You know what I mean? Because I made the clip yesterday, and let's be clear, I never said a word about the battling. I said that the stands made it weird. And I stood on that argument because that's something we've been saying for 2 years. You know what I mean? Again, not never wrong, just early. Because we were calling the stands whack when from stream to stream, we were getting called dick riders by Kendrick fans, Drake fans, and Cole fans, depending on us saying something that they didn't like. You know what I mean? So from that perspective, and our experience with the stands, people having discords and trying to turn people against us, all types of shit that we've dealt with, right? This is all facts. I agree with him about the stands. I don't agree with him about battling. I love battling and rap too much to ever agree with Jay-Z on that. You know what I mean? Like, shit. If he didn't call himself a hypocrite in the interview, I would have called him a hypocrite right now. I'd have probably been more so on the side of sin with that situation. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you cannot say that bad, because that's a core element. What I didn't like is how he was saying that the 4 pillars of hip-hop don't exist anymore. I think that was the most problematic thing he said about hip-hop. What do you mean the 4 pillars don't exist anymore? If you saying that, it just means that all the shit that we do for the coach is pointless. That's how I'm taking it anyway. You know what I mean? That if we don't uphold the pillars, then we allow the pillars to fall. And now you saying that battling should go because the stands, specifically the stands. No, I feel like let's get back to calling shit corny. That's the problem that I'm having with this whole thing. We have gotten so far away from calling corny that we just allowing everything to exist and allowing it to dictate what it is from what it ain't. Nah, let's call them stand niggas corny, and they don't belong in our conversations. Get them out of here. Why can't we do that? Why do we have to say get rid of battling instead of saying get these clowns out here? Because they're not even hip hop to me. All of the like to me, I say I'm a super fan of Jay-Z. Sin is a super fan of Kendrick. But we can have arguments and discourse because we're not stands trying to dox each other. He could tell me some shit and he might feel like I'm wrong and vice versa, and we won't fucking have a meltdown behind that shit. Same thing with Macito. You know what I mean? I just feel like we need to remove stands from our lunch table as opposed to giving them so much power to where a Jay-Z can say that battling shouldn't exist anymore. Fuck that. Fuck the stands is where I'm at with that shit.
Nah, I feel you. And we've all said in one form or another, fuck the stands. Like stands all corny. Stands need to, find something else in life to be this passionate about. You know what I mean? Go outside, leave your basement, touch grass, feel the sun. You know what I mean? Touch some ass if you're
another iconic round table ball. Go touch some ass.
But like my question here, if Jay-Z is such an expert politician, such a centrist, would that also not be problematic for him to say? Because now he's taking a shot at the fans. Well, now he might specifically say that fuck the stands, but who's to determine who's the stand? You know what I mean?
We know who they are.
No, I'm not. No, you're misunderstanding me. You're misunderstanding me. We know who they are, right? But it might get misconstrued. Like lines might get blurry based on who's getting that message. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by?
I mean, if you like,
let's say I'm afraid about offending the wrong people. That's what you're saying.
Well,
but who's the wrong? But who's the wrong?
That's what I'm trying to understand. What you saying when you say like identify the stands? What exactly is your point? Like
how do we identify? Like, do they fill out an application, a form or something? Like, is there a registry of the stands?
And the thing is,
that's what I'm saying though. Like, and I almost feel like Mace right now with this argument. But like, if Jay goes up and says, "All right, stand culture, the stands, we need to remove them from the culture." There's a lot of people that might get offended by that, whether they're a stand or not. You don't think?
I'm not saying that I don't. I agree with you. I guess, at the risk of once again making myself the villain in this conversation, I really don't want to. But so what? At the end of the day, each individual needs to have the cognitive dissonance to know who the message is for. And it's too many people. To me, it's too many people who just they live to be offended. So if in this case, that person wants to, he's talking to me. If you know you're not in Club Paradise, if you know you're not a K-bot or a coal miner, you're a fan first of the culture, and you have the person you're a super fan of. If you can't differentiate the two and you just want to be offended, I can't account for you, bro. Because everyone individually knows who they are at the end of the day. We know who the Club Paradise niggas are. The Kendrick fans, we can't say nothing bad about Kendrick. About the fans who's on our head top when the fall off drop. We can tell the difference between a rational person and a stand.
We can.
If a rational person wants to get offended because he might view himself as a stand, you gotta know within yourself if you that way, gang. That's how I look at that shit. We all adults here. This ain't no kids trying to find themselves. We got grown ass adults here.
And I understand where you coming from, Sin. Maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, but I'm interpreting it like, Jay-Z is a capitalist and a record label owner and somebody who benefits from stand culture, business-wise. So I understand that, right? But I say this, right? Because I think that, metaphorically kicking the stands out might also be, this is the husband of Beyonce. Like, who knows stands better than him, right?
I was told yesterday that Beyonce fans hate Jay-Z, so maybe that's part of it too.
Right. Check them all out, right? But it harkens back to what y'all was trying to school me on a couple weeks back when we had the classic masterpiece conversation, and I kept saying, right, what Sin was saying. What about everybody? What about everybody? And what y'all tell me, is the gatekeeper. So I think that a realistic option might be us, because the thing is, we're listening to Stan's, we're validating Stan's, we're going up and we're talking about Stan's opinion and talking about, hey, I don't like this rapper because of his stance. We kind of validate, and when I say we, I mean the culture in total, validate that standery by even kind of paying attention to us. They used to be the dweebs in the corner we ignored, right? But now we allow them into the conversation with us. So no, we can't kick them out music, we can't kick them offline, but we can gatekeep these conversations, this type of validation away from them. So it's a that's why I say it's a fascinating conversation,
Man,
bro.
Streeto being the voice of reason here is wasn't on my bingo card, but that's a hell of a point. We need to gatekeep the stands the same way we gatekeep the culture, because they don't need to be part of everything, bro.
And we do that. You know what I mean? In the comments, as soon as we see some standery, like, you up out of here, bro.
Word.
You know?
But I will say this. I want to do this to y'all. A part of me, as much as I agree with that particular portion, I felt like even if he did call himself a hypocrite, cool, I respect that. I did get a twinge of something Sin talked about many moons ago. He's pushing 60, and it sure felt like a guy who's active. I hate to do it, but it sounds out of touch. No matter how cool you can still maintain at 60, you're not in the league anymore. You're not active anymore. The rules of engagement, even if us here on the panel hate the rules of engagements, the rules of engagement are what they are, and he's kind of out of touch. That's the first time I really felt like Hov was really like, yo, like, bro, Gramps, you might have to, you know what I mean? What do you think about that sentiment, that Jay has finally fully revealed himself as being out of touch with what the space requires in 2026?
I gotta agree. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I felt the same, right? Like, and he even kind of alludes to being the old guy in the room a little bit, right? Like, yeah, I did feel that way. That, you know, I don't think Pusha T would say this, right? But actually, Pusha T did say he was done with battling, right? But Pusha T said that he's gonna diss somebody next week.
Right.
But like yeah, he if he was in the field, like not even like peak J, right? Not even volume J, like even fucking American Gangster, Blueprint 3, Magna Carta J, I don't think he would reflect this sentiment. I think he would feel if he dies, he dies. You know what I'm saying? To be honest with you. But there's you know, and like I was saying before, there's a role that Jay-Z has to. Jay-Z is the godfather of this game, bro. You know what I mean? He got to be the OG. It don't matter how many drills he went on, no matter how many drive-bys he did, no matter how many bricks he sold. To the people after him, he has to exhibit a certain amount of maturity and, you know, growth within his speech and within his thoughts. And we know Jay is Jay, right? If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I don't think he sees, you know, after the initial, you know, money to be made, you know what I mean? Shouts to the Super Bowl. I think he's looking at a game right now where it's like it's just too much going on. It's not profitable the way it should be. You know what I'm saying? I like you said, we don't know Jay. We just know of him, what he's rapped about. But that's where I feel like he may be coming from as well.
I agree that he does sound. I mean, come on, like he said as much in the interview. Like, I don't want to sound like, you know, the old guy wagging my finger and whatnot. But that's how he came off. Yeah, you know, pushing 60, sitting on a Billy. Like, here's the thing. I don't expect Jay to be all that in touch anymore. I don't expect him to have his finger on the pulse of the culture. You know what I mean? He's too far removed, too old and too far removed from, you know, battling Nas and being in the thick of things. Pause. But yeah, of course, yeah, he definitely sounded out of touch. One of the things that I think struck me was when he was talking about, and again, this is the thing that bothers me, because it's like I feel like I almost feel like it's weird because he alluded to knowing that the battle was brewing, and then he like paralleled that with how the battle between him and Nas was brewing.
Very interesting.
But then later on, at some other point in the interview, said like, but now, you know, all the Kendrick fans hate Drake, all the Drake fans hate Kendrick. It was kind of like that already, way before this battle popped off.
All it did was you advanced it and made it worse, but it was Hatfields and boys already.
It just exacerbated. Like it's like, you know, it was like a pulsing like wound, and it finally fucking ruptured. Like that's always how it's been, you know. So like I don't. There's so much of the interview that feels like he kind of knows, but he doesn't want to dig too deep into it, so he falls back to his centrist position, because he doesn't want to, like, you know, cause too much of a wave on either side. So that, plus the fact that, yeah, in some cases he just sounded like just old, just like you know, this battling thing, like, you know, I'm over it or whatever. Like, nah, man, like it's, no matter how old hip hop gets, like, we got to keep that spirit of competition alive, man.
I hands on agree, and I want to make that 100% clear, because our message got lost yesterday with the clip. I was not agreeing about the battling. I only agree about the stand culture, because I just felt like if you get into a place where you're doxing people, you're talking about kids, you're trying to expose people's personal lives, that's not rap. That don't got nothing to do with rap. That don't got nothing to do with hip hop. Like that right there, that specifically, that I don't want nothing to do with it. If you like arguing fan bases, that's part of the game. Again, sincere or not, friendship was based on me being a J fan, him being a Nas fan, and us debating the greatest battle of all time to that point. I'm always gonna want that energy. I'm gonna be 60 like Hov, and I'm gonna want that energy because I love this shit. But it's like the extras, the weirdo energy, being obtuse, Club Paradise, where they take one fact and surround it with a bunch of lies and try to make Kendrick look crazy. Like, what does that have to do with rap at the end of the day? You know what I mean? But nevertheless, let's get to the next portion of this interview. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe option, hit the notification bell. Stop what you're doing, hit the like button. Stop what you're doing, hit the like button. He talked about the battle, right? And in the midst of, you know, talking about it, the whole Super Bowl thing, Kendrick getting the spot, and the Drake fans feeling like Jay-Z took a side with that whole battle. And he basically knighted, to use Macito's word, knighted Kendrick Lamar as the guy in the culture. He fought back against that, saying that I'm Jay-Z, what I look like, essentially. Macito, when you heard that line, how did you feel about that, followed by Sin?
Listen, I don't know what I believed there, to be honest with you. And listen, everybody felt like he was taking sides, right? I feel like Drake fans were upset and Kendrick fans were happy, right? Because you feel like, you know, like both sides felt like he was taking his side, right? I think that, you know, we've gone back and forth about, you know, the title, the you know, the streaming shit, the lution of it all, the business portion behind the lyricism and the albums and the things like that. So, you know, there's reasons that people believe this. These guys have been taking shots at each other on a record for damn near as long as him and Kendrick, if you want to be honest. I'm sorry, Jay. I don't know if I buy it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Was Jay out here plotting like the worst of Club Paradise will say that Rock Nation, you know, had Kendrick, you know, chained up, and they said, you're gonna diss Drake or we ain't gonna let you out. No, it wasn't no situation like that, right? Of course not. But if you telling me that Jay-Z didn't mind seeing, you know, I'm not gonna call Drake a competitor or a peer, but somebody that people have compared to him, right? Somebody who Jay probably look at like, really? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is somebody who some people felt was the you know, not an artistry, but the just his position in the game, felt like that was somebody who was, you know, the Jay of shit. Drake has rapped it himself, right? So if you tell it, yeah, I do think that Jay kind of didn't mind seeing him get his pow, right? Maybe it, like I say, he wasn't plotting. Jay-Z, I agree. Jay-Z is way too up and way too, he have way too much business going on to be having a left wing in the Rock Nation offices plotting against Drake's career. That absolutely did not happen. But I hearkened it. You remember that footage not too long ago? Some guy is stealing a pack of Tic Tacs and some Newports, and he's running away. This is in New York. He's running away, right? The cops are chasing him, and some random lady puts her foot out and trips him. That's what Jay did. She ain't wake up that day and said, I'm going to trip the police, but the opportunity to trip my op presented itself, and I didn't even realize it. So I'm going to take it. That's the way, that's how I felt Jay did it, right? Obviously, like, come on, you... Everything Jay said is right. Kendrick had the most epic year ever. He had one of the MVP years of all MVP years. So all of that validates it. All of that makes it make sense. Jay would have not done it if it didn't make sense. Let's understand that. But if you're telling me he wasn't like, yeah, Drake, fuck you, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stomp him, Kenny. I definitely, like I said, Drake is somebody who the mainstream and the unclothed might have compared to Jay. Jay is looking at Kendrick like that's the guy of my cloth. You know what I mean? I'd rather endorse that than endorse this. I believe that. You know what I'm saying? I do. There's something there.
I don't know. I'm kind of with Mace. Like, I'm kind of like 50-50 on this. Like, on the one hand, like him said, like, I'm Hove. Like, what I look like, you know, you got to understand the level of rich and the level of status that Jay-Z has. Drake and Kendrick are both far beneath him when, like, in that, you know, totem pole.
Legacy,
you know what I mean?
Or everything.
You know what I mean? And so, like, you know, I'm not saying artistically, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying business-wise, money, you know, years in the game, accomplished, like, he's above them, far above them on the totem pole. So he might look at them and be like, yo, like, I'm not worried about these two. You know what I mean? They got a good 10, 15 years before they could get up to my level. So he might be looking at them like, man, I'm Hove. Like, what do I care about what y'all do, right? But that being said, you know, it is interesting that, like, now there have been, before I say this, there have been you know, rumors that Drake has been offered the Super Bowl and he's turned it down. You know what I mean? So if that's the case, and Kendrick is having this epic year, and like May said, the opportunity presented itself, yeah, he's gonna go. Like, Kendrick, if he feels the same way about both Drake and Kendrick, Drake has offered it and he turns it down, he doesn't want to do it, fuck it, go with Kendrick. Now, some people might view that as picking sides, right? But they're not, you know, they don't know the circumstances surrounding why one ended up on that stage and the other one didn't. They're just going to create their own narratives, right? And they're going to say, you know, oh, hey, you know, Hove is trying to, like, you know, push Drake aside. He's trying to, like, sabotage him, and he's going with Drake, and it's all a plan. Like, everybody's going to build their own narratives in their head about how shit happened, you know, and how shit went down and how it transpired. But from where I see it, it's just like, it was 2024 leading into 2025. Like, the run was there, you know, the battle, the streams, the headlines, the everything, right? The spotlight, and then the album. Like, of course, Super Bowl next.
Interesting perspectives from my guys. I'm gonna have to go the other way. I'm gonna swing the pendulum in one very specific direction. I don't believe Jay-Z. I'm gonna say that right now. Jay-Z, you know, being an expert lyricist, expert businessman, Jay-Z, if nothing else, and I'm surprised Sen didn't go this route. I'm stunned, in fact. One thing about Jay-Z is that he is a known schemer. Right? And I don't mean that negatively. It just means that he maps out plays. He maps out plays. His timing is pretty succinct a lot of times as well. Even battling Nas and the timing of Takeover. He didn't drop Takeover in '99 when Nas was super active, putting out 2 albums and shit like that. It was no conversation around Nas when that Summer Jam shit happened. He ain't expect what happened in response with Ether, followed by Stillmatic. You know what I mean? He's always been very tactile in his decision making, his features, what he says on those features, things of that nature. But with this thing, what I mean, what I say that I don't believe him is, I think he knew who would win that battle. He's not stupid. He knows public sentiment. He knows what lane Drake has chosen. He knows how people have responded to Drake in the lane that he chose. He tried to coach up Drake on wax even. Then we had the behind the scenes movements that you've spoken about. Whereas he didn't want to go with Tidal. Instead, he chose Apple Music and that big money deal. That I don't think Tidal was cutting a $400 million check. So I mean, I can't fault Drake for that. You know, money still talks. All that culture talk is cool, but behind the scenes with a lot of people, if you put that almost $500 million in front of them, they're not saying no to that.
What?
Okay. That being said, do I think he was an active participant in moving chess pieces behind the scene? No. Do I think that he knew who would win the battle and just sat back and waited? Yes. And I think that the Super Bowl was the final push. Now that he's been compromised, right? The conversations around Drake was nasty. Drake started cheddar bobbing himself with the lawsuits and the self-sabotage. And then here goes Jay-Z with that final maniacal push. Boom. Super Bowl. His hands is not involved in anything. You can't tie anything back to him. But I did choose. He didn't have to choose Kendrick. He could have chose Bad Bunny that year too, nigga. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have to be Kendrick. It didn't have to be Kendrick Lamar. But it made so much sense. And if you know how this war shit goes, how this chess shit goes, what's gonna hurt more? You giving this guy, a little pat on the back, yeah, shout out Kendrick for winning the battle, or giving him the biggest audience in American history after the biggest battle in rap history. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I don't believe him. I don't think he was active. Yes, he is Jay-Z, but Jay-Z's not a moron. So I think he knew what he was doing with that position. It was political mafiosi at play there with that position in the Kendrick. You think Kendrick Lamar and let's be clear, you know what I mean? Because somebody said stop at the conspiracy theories. No, we're not going to stop. That's my favorite part of rap. I love to recklessly speculate. What are you talking about? How many times Drake has thrown little darts at Hov on wax? You would think rabbit ass Jay-Z ain't heard them bars? What are we talking about?
They've been scrapping for a decade plus, but
yeah,
back and forth. Hell yeah, he knew what he was doing. He didn't assist Kenny, but he sure gave Kenny that final push. The change. The conversation around Kendrick Lamar is not the same before the battle and Super Bowl as it is now. Kendrick can't come off that perch ever. He is now a pop star. Even if he's a reluctant pop star, he is a pop star. Every time he comes outside, the music's gonna hit different. The silence is gonna hit different. The positioning is gonna hit different. He knew what he was doing. So I don't believe Jay on that front. Last thing we got to get to before we, move on to the final question. Everybody get back on the clock or whatever. He's talking about music, but he's also talking about capitalism. And he tried to make it seem as though, and you know what? Let me not say try to make it seem. I don't want to misappropriate his words. He's saying that he played the game the way the game was meant to be played, and he didn't like basically use anyone. I forget the exact quote to get where he had to go. And Sincere's been calling Jay-Z a hyper-capitalist as long as I've known Sincere. It was Nas one, Jay-Z's a hyper-capitalist right after the other one. You know what I mean? Sincere, when you heard his comments on capitalism, what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, he's right. He's honest about himself. You know what I mean? I respect that, right? He's not going to tell you one thing and then be something else. So, I got a few quotes down here that I wrote down. All I heard was the American dream when he was like, when we were coming up, all I heard was the American dream until we started making money. Then he feels like people were started saying it became a problem. He also said, I didn't get here by taking advantage of people, right? Or by taking advantage of loopholes. He also says that he's a realist, not an idealist, right? And that if you view the world too idealistically, you're never going to win that way, right? And it's a lot to sort of dissect here, right? Number one, obviously, yeah, he's very honest about his view on the world, a realist. That, and honestly, before I call him a hyper capitalist, I think above that I should call him that. He is a realist, and that's why that's why he's respected the way that he is. That's why he's been able to accomplish everything he's accomplished. He doesn't stop to ponder a make-believe idealistic version of the world. He just sees the world for what it is and moves accordingly, right? I unfortunately am afflicted with a great deal of idealism, and so I can't operate in the world that way. I can't operate my life that way. So shouts to him and to everybody that can operate their lives that way. There's certain shit that, like, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I can't do that, even though I know the next man gonna do it, the man after that's gonna do it, but I can't take that step because it just doesn't feel right, for me. So so I get that aspect of it, but at the same time, saying that he didn't get to where he's gotten by taking advantage of people. I'm sorry to break it to you, but the very definition of capitalism, the very foundation of capitalism, is to somehow climb up while climbing over other people and taking advantage of other people. And not taking advantage like in a literal sense, not in a one-to-one first person sense. But people are going to be exploited all the time in capitalism, right? Maybe you don't see them. Maybe it's not people that you are interfacing with face to face, eye to eye. Maybe it's not people that you speak to. But somewhere along the way, as a hyper capitalist, you're on your way to $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, $1 billion. There's no way that you're taking those steps and somebody's not getting exploited somewhere based on the steps that you're taking, right? That's just the simple facts of capitalism in and of itself, right? So maybe he believes that he hasn't taken advantage of anybody, or that he hasn't, taken advantage of loopholes. I don't see how you amass $1 billion without seeing a loophole and jumping the fuck through that shit. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't like a good fucking loophole? So that's the one that really, maybe pause.
Maybe.
But,
depending on who you're speaking to.
I don't think a loophole is a plausible offense.
Jury's out on that one.
It wasn't loophole. It was who doesn't love a good loophole. That that's what got me there.
I don't see it. I don't. You know what?
Look,
we'll revisit.
It's the context.
But we'll revisit. You know what I mean? We'll hold a meeting on that. But
I'll ask
yeah, like you like if I like even if me 1,000 there, if I see a loophole, I'm taking that shit 10 out of 10 times. You a billionaire? You're telling me you're gonna see a loophole and be like, nah, I'm not gonna take advantage. I'm gonna do this the right way. I'm gonna do this the right, yeah, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't find the word, but I call bullshit on that. Like I don't buy it. I don't buy it one bit, not at all.
And this is Jay-Z's blind spot. This has always been Jay's blind spot. There's so much that he's enlightening on. There's so many things that he sounds highly intellectual about. There's so many things that you believe him when he says, but this ain't one of them, bro. Sin, it's like, Sin said it perfectly. There's a lot of people, I don't want to say a majority, but there's a lot of people that say a billionaire can't exist without people getting taken advantage of, right? It's such an interesting conversation. I don't mean this is usually you, Sin, but I don't mean to get too political, but we live in New York City where socialism is the big conversation right now. So Jay-Z's statements and his character kind of directly opposes to what the people themselves are saying they want right now. So it's you know, we have to remember a few things about Jay-Z. Jay-Z is a man of a certain age. Jay-Z is a boomer. And people of his age group, people that came up when he came up, capitalism, getting money, this type of thing was the highest thing you could achieve. This is what people used to dream of. Jay-Z's parents was probably born in the fucking what? The 40s, the 30s, maybe? You know what I'm saying?
Peak of the civil rights movement. You know what I mean?
Right. So there's a lot of things that Jay-Z grew up with that, you know, us in the 2026 lens trying to criticize him with that Gen Z shit, you know what I mean? It's not gonna mean as much to him, right? I don't believe that, you know, that everyone in that's too much of a blanket statement. I don't believe that everyone in Jay-Z's life feel like they weren't taken advantage of. Dame Dash feels taken advantage of, right? Calvin Klein feels taken advantage of. The citizens of Fort Greene and Clinton Hill of Brooklyn, New York feel taken advantage of. There's a lot of people who feel like Jay-Z might have, you know, effed them over.
Shit.
So
and I forgot to mention Beans, you know,
Beans,
very
right.
publicly
So
talking about feeling taken advantage of.
Absolutely. So it's you know, it's the businessman in Jay-Z, you know what I mean? Even who uses loopholes in random conversations when you're speaking to people, right? That's a businessman word, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I don't think any of us have ever said that word to each other here on the Rap Roundtable. We known each other for 15 years, unless me and Jav are talking about a Hell in the Cell matchup, of course. But so when you think about Jay, he's always sounded like, you know, like an old man here. He's always sounded like somebody that was out of touch with this specific conversation. There was a time where everybody loved to hear how much money Jay-Z had and what Jay-Z was doing with his money. There's a certain point, I think it's after like the art, after that era of Jay, where people just rejected it. You know what I mean? And I don't know that Jay-Z at the perch of the mountain that he is really knows that people, you know, it's not the same. It's not they not rooting for you no more, Jay. He probably does know people are rooting against him, but it's like this is he's trying to convince us that, hey, I'm one of the good ones, and that just for the large majority of us thousandaires, like Sin said, some people wish they was thousandaires. You know what I mean? Most people don't want to hear this. They don't, you know, unless you're like a hardcore Jay stan and you just one of those Black excellence types, you know what I'm saying? Like, you probably love this, but the most of us, we're looking at it side eye. We're looking at it like we don't believe it. We're looking at it like, oh, okay, Jay, I got you. You know,
With the capitalistic conversation, I just think it's I don't think there's no serious way to have that conversation between like a thousandaire and a billionaire. You know, I know sometimes people get mad at me when I say we got to stay out of rich people business. It's not because I don't want to have the conversation. It's just that we not speaking the language. We don't speak the language. You get what I'm saying? More or less, the one time I could personally attest to who I felt like he stepped on people, not stepped on, but took advantage of people, to use that phrase, is the Barclays Center situation. There's still people who are displaced to this day. They never got what was promised to them. Therefore, they were taken advantage of. Beyond that, as a businessman, I would say he didn't step on people more so than he stepped over people. Jay-Z has a belief system, whether we agree to it or not. Again, as a thousandaire, I can't function the way Jay-Z functions. I cannot. I'm just not in that bracket. You know what I mean? They look at it as, and Mace made that point, get into it. And everyone that stayed with him is in lockstep with, this is what we got to do to get to it. He made some comments about like taking advantage of people. What I'll say is, there's not much as far as like record labels smell his name, like how Diddy's nefarious ways of doing business that we've known about well before there was a documentary, like the kind of contracts people signed to Diddy, and how Diddy was eating off their publishing, and they couldn't see a dime for a while. He was pushing the billionaire off the backs of other artists and using that money to make more money. I'm not saying he made billions off of publishing, but he used that money that he was curtailing, because once you get to a certain status of money, you being walking money generates even more passive income. You know what I mean? That's just how the game goes. Like, again, to be a capitalist in America, that's how you're supposed to play the game. And I think that's what Jay-Z was saying, because the thousandaires, the middle class, the lower middle class, we get shitted on. Just the way the American infrastructure is set up, We get shitted on. But once you get the funny thing is, it's always a running joke. The more money you get, the more things become free. You know what I mean? It's so crazy how it works. America's rigged. And that's the thing that people don't they don't want to. Hey, he can't say it because he's rich, but I can say it because I'm Joe Nobody. The country's rigged. It is designed for the capitalists to win. And once you get to that certain point in space, it's like this is what you're supposed to do in order to get more money. It becomes Monopoly. That's why Monopoly is the game that really mirrors life in a lot of ways. So the whole Dame thing, somebody put it in the chat. Dame left for paper, and Dame wasn't in lockstep to chase the higher ground. Dame wanted to be the hood nigga that was rich and made it. Jay wanted to fucking beat America. That's what he be saying even yesterday. He said, this is what it is, and that's how the rules are being played, and that's why he looks at capitalism as a slur, because it's like when the white people do it and they go and they get that paper, you don't really hear black people getting into white people business about how they go about doing the same shit that Jay-Z does.
Talk about it.
And in fact, they support the brands that the white people have brought to the forefront. But the minute Jay-Z does it, is a problem. Am I saying that Jay-Z's right? No. Because things people don't hear me say, I think I'm defending him. I'm not defending. What I'm saying is his perspective is, if they can do it, why can't I? Why are the rules different for me? That's his argument. I wish he would just say it instead of tap dancing around and going around and around in a circle. But Jay always has a way of putting his foot in his mouth while sounding smart at the same time. And that's why I always tell my guys this shit. Just say the thing. It's better to just rip the Band-Aid off and let people be mad. I'm doing it the way the game is meant to be played. And if you got a problem with that, I can't concern myself with you, because that's how Americana is set up. The motherfucker who's in office right now beat the game a long time ago and beat the game to where there's bonus stages where you could become president. We didn't even know about that part of the game. That's a bonus. It's when you play the Cool Man Super Turbo. We didn't even know the nigga was there. Oh shit, president.
But I think the thing that he doesn't understand, or maybe he understands it in the cognitive dissonance of it, is that like while they do it over there, it's not their people that are at the bottom of the rung in the entire system.
Conflict of interest right there,
right?
You know what I mean? Right. It's not their people. It's people that look like him.
We as minorities, and that's so much that we like our righteousness should not allow us. We should not want to play the white man's game, and that's the crux of the argument there.
Exactly.
But then where does that land you? Is the question. We done got political shit.
Yeah.
Nah, that's why I say it's so interesting, man. Like it really is, because it's almost like they'll make fun of you for being broke too, right? Like if Jay-Z after Dame Dash, right?
Yes.
So it's like, wouldn't you be rather rich and hated than loved and broke, right?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer these questions. I'm not above saying I don't know. Anyway, hit the button, hit the option, hit the notification bell. Lock in all things Rap Roundtable. Before we get out of here, one last question, because I think Sid has to go back to work. He about to get him fired today. You know what I mean? Basically, we won't get into it, but I just want to take a quick victory lap. He basically intimated that there's new music on the way. Dini, we told you he's working on music. There's gonna be an album. He ain't say that, but I'm saying it. It's gonna be an album this year. He telling us
clearly, bro.
You know what I mean? You ain't doing this press for a fucking concert. That's gonna sell out regardless. But last but not least, is J. Cole vindicated with Jay-Z's comments about staying coach and how messy it got between Kendrick Lamar and Drake? Sincere, I'll come to you first.
I mean, I guess so. Regardless of either one of them saying it, like I don't agree with neither one of them. You know what I mean? But it's again like but I think J. Cole's purview of why he's saying it, I think, is different from why Jay is saying it.
He don't have honorable intentions.
No, it's not. It's not even about honor, really, or ethics or whatever. It's just like I honestly think Jay is looking at it more so from a business perspective, and fucking up the money, while J. Cole is looking at it directly from as being a person that's literally between the two of them, and now he feels like he's lost two friends. You know what I mean? And can't really. You go to your left, they're not fucking with you. You look to your right, they're not fucking with you. You know what I mean? I think it's more emotional with Cole. I think with Jay, it's business. That's how I see it.
Well, like I said earlier, I felt vindicated. So J. Cole should definitely feel vindicated. To be honest with you, nobody's gonna give him credit because honestly, people was mad at Jay. So people gonna be mad at Jay-Z for saying something. J. Cole, you ain't got no goddamn chance, brother. But yeah, he should feel a slight bit of vindication. Interesting conversation with that audit situation. I want to hear a little bit more about that. But yeah, he should feel slight vindication here. He didn't compliment the fall off though.
What I say is, and I don't think he should feel vindicated. I know a lot of people who on the surface are gonna say he's vindicated. Yo, he's right. I think what with J. Cole, and we talked about this on Monday, his ability to find a way to position everything he does in a way that's explainable and it's not the case or whatever the case may be. But once you start breaking down the timing and the everything of it all, how can he feel vindicated? He, based on what we know, he jumped out the window and responded to Kendrick before it became a mudslinging contest, right? People say there was pressure. I don't remember it that way, and I'm willing to stand on not remembering it that way. He rescinded a diss record. Like, people got to understand, like, our issue with J. Cole, and it's so simple, but everyone tries to be obtuse. He made a diss and walked it back because people called it corny, and then he lied about it on stage about why he walked it back. It don't got all the other shit that he talked about in the aftermath. I don't even care about it, because the truth of the matter is, in the weekend of the fall off, not the fall off, might delete later, we listened to 7 Minute Drill, it got panned. Let's say it was like 75-25 as far as pans are good, right? And he walked it back because it got panned. And now he would have been exposed. He would have been an open target for Kendrick to eviscerate. And based on what he said about how he heard like that and how good it was, he knew he was fooled and he walked it back. So all I ever think about is not this and what about Drake? Fuck that. He shouldn't feel, because J. Cole fans can feel vindicated, but Jermaine Cole within himself knows that he'll never feel vindicated. And that's why he sounds like he's full of shit every time he talks about it. So booms, long-winded answers, because it's not the truth. So no, he shouldn't feel vindicated. Sorry, not sorry. We got a couple super chats here too, and we'll get up out of here. Shout out to everybody who pulled up. Random live, no promo, no nothing. We just pulled up in. Shout out, pause that. Jermaine L. Johnson was like, we need an emergency live. You know what I mean? Of course we gonna do the emergency live, Jermaine. You know how we do. First super chat is him himself. Says, when drill rappers actually die, no one cares. But as soon as Drake lose a peaceful rap battle, now we have to cancel battling. Fuck out of here. Get the fuck off. Agreed.
Oh man,
to that end though, because I've seen that point a few times. I don't think drill is even in Jay's radar. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think he considers that like a real actual part of rap or hip hop.
Jay the type that you don't even know he paying for lawyers for half the drill rappers. Like, Jay do a lot of his shit behind the scenes. I'm sure he done tried to reach out in Brooklyn before.
That's why he should just stop tap dancing around. Just say how you really feel, because you did it with Digits. Just say how you feel, nigga. Because the thing is, you make yourself sound ridiculous when you try to talk around it. You know what I mean? As smart as you are, and as great as a lyrical orator that you are, as far as interview orations, you're not the strongest. You know what I mean? MRP says, I can't help but hear echoes of that ether, that shit that make your stern bro slow. Battle went too far. Y'all know our chance be holding on to everything. Don't got nothing to do with get the fuck out of here, man. Child Princess says stands equals an independent media stands. Example, academics. Marketing companies capitalize about pushing propaganda via chatbots. Super fans, A and B are bad. Agreed. Shout out Child Princess with the clutch super chat.
What up?
Melanin Man, shout out Melanin Man, says Jay have this kind of energy for drill music, not battling. The battle taught people a lesson. When a quiet nigga tells you not to cross the line, don't cross it. I don't think Jay-Z even looks at drill rap. Y'all gotta stop. He's 60 years old. He don't know what's going on.
I want Jay to solve drill rap.
He's not plugged in. He be with $100.
This is why Sin be getting at me about this whataboutism, guys. Y'all displaying it right now.
TB with $100 holla. Much love to TB. Missed you on Monday too, TB. Appreciate it. Hey, my fave, Jay is bugging. Rather than removing rap battles, the focus should be on encouraging creativity, respect, and boundaries within them. I think that's kind of what he was saying also. Keeping rap battle as a tradition of the culture means maintaining a key element of hip-hop's identity and evolution. 100% agreed on that last sentence right there. Jermaine L. Johnson says, you can't convince me that when Hov saw the Drake lawsuit, he didn't secretly say to himself, oh, come on, really? A fucking law? We all did. We all had to.
Of course.
Yo, y'all wanted him to go up to GQ and say, fuck Drake? Like,
yes. 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 That's the whole thing. Arlo 26 says, this looks like Lucian told Jay to end this. Jay already showed he will pivot in the past, and the ugliness that's at hand comes with the OVO side, I guess. T-Mac says, oh, just a super
Lucian
plot. Much love. Much love. We're going to get up out of here. You know, no Dini, so Mesito, you got to take us home, bro.
Listen, shouts to Dean. He on the clock right now making his cash. We need you with the pause react, Dean. Run the tape back, Dean, please. I'm Mesito, you know what I'm saying? Don't do anything because I'll find you. We got Sincere the Rap Snob here. Super producer. He makes beats. Follow him at Sincere Beats. Copy you a beat tomorrow. That's Jaw the Point Guard, the GOAT of this broadcast pod. Sports shit, y'all know, y'all see him on every channel next week. You heard? We are the Rap Roundtable. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. Send this episode in the group chat because y'all know this the talk right now. See what your friends got to say about this episode. Make sure after the episode you swipe left, you hit the hype button. That's really been getting us right recently. And make sure you just show us love. Stay in the comments. We always gonna be here. You know, every now and then we might send you a voice note about it. But we are the Rap Roundtable. We are out of here. Salute, y'all.
Yes, sir. Culture United tonight. Your boy Java will be on there. Make sure y'all tap in.
Yes, sir.